welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the garage review and with Ace Tanker gameplay on the new tier 10 premium tank, or the 450,000 free XP tank, the WZ-111 Chilean, or QL. I'll probably stick to QL to be honest, because it's a lot easier to keep saying WZ-QL. What do I think about this tank? Well, this tank's mad. It's so good. I don't get why it's so good. Because they've brought in other tanks like the Andre the Giant or the MXM454, which, with a gun that's similar, it's just so much worse. Like this tank is ridiculously good because it's basically a 5A. It's pretty much what it is. It's a 5A. But what they've done is switch out the gun. So, 750 horsepower, 4.65 rate of fire rounds a minute, 250 pen, 340 heat pen, 560 damage, 2.5 aim time, 0.39 accuracy. Now the 0.39 is pretty good for a 130mm. 2.5 isn't bad either. It's pretty nice. It's got 4.65 rounds a minute, which is good for 560, and then great pen. Okay. So we're going to look at that in comparison to the 5A, which has got 5.36 rounds a minute, and then the rest of the gun, except for the damage, is the same. I don't get it. From what I've seen, is either it's got 50 less DPM or it's exactly the same DPM. It's one of the two, so it's basically negligible as the 5A, which is insane because that means this tank is just better than the WZ-111-5A. The 111-5A is one of the best heavy tanks at the tier. So this tank is just better because 5.6 having more alpha but pretty much the same DPM is usually preferable. Usually. Because you're not always reliant on how quick you can fire the gun. So being able to slap people for 560 and then pull back behind the ridge for a bit is so much better than slapping people for 490. It just is. There's no other way about it. So what else has this tank got? So, it's got great turret armour. It's, like I say, it's the same as the 5A, 400 metres view range, great turret armour. But, it's got 30 degrees of traverse speed. 30 degrees of traverse speed on the turret. And the 5A only has 26, so it's got better traverse speed. Okay. You're selling it to me. So what else has this thing got? So it's got 15 horsepower per ton, 50 km/h top speed, 15 reverse, 12% fire chance. Don't believe the fire chance. It's the same on the WZ-111-14, and the 111-14 gets set on fire all the time. I don't know. RNG, really, to be honest. But yeah, like I was saying, in most regards, it's exactly the same as the WZ-111-5A. Because look there, that's got 15 horsepower per ton. It's exactly the same, but the other one's got a bigger gun. So the mobility is the same. So if you've played the 5A and you like the 5A, this is up your street. And it's better. Okay? So, yep, 12.9 second base reload. I think we're just seeing it's 11.2 or 11.3 on the 5A for 490. 2.5 aim time, 3.9. The accuracy on moving the tank is 2.93, and the rotating turret is 9.93. Okay, 2.93 and 9.3. So that means it's better at firing on the move than the WZ-111-5A. And trust me, this thing can hit shots on the move quite nicely. It's pretty good for that. But it's worse when turning the turret, but it's not even noticeable. You turn the turret and the gun doesn't bloom as much as you'd think it does. It's not that noticeable. The accuracy on moving the tank definitely is. The gun doesn't bloom as much. It definitely hits more shots than this does on the move. It's madness. And it's got 7 degrees of gun depression. Exactly the same as the 5A. Like I say, pretty much everything is the same as the 5A. Track traverse, 36 degrees a second. Terrain resistance, 1.1, 1.2 and 2.5. let's have a look what that is on the 5A. It's exactly the same. So, yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same. Like I say, 400 meters view range, 30 degrees a second, which is better than the 5A. We don't care about radio range. The shell velocity at 930 isn't the best, but it's alright. Well, it's pretty good that all the shells have the same velocity, because that means you don't have to have any adjustment for what type of shell you're firing. So because there's lots of other tanks. Take the U-100 for example. It's like 700 meters a second on the AP, and then like 605 or something meters a second on the heat, which means the heat just goes so slowly. So you've got to make adjustments to the way you aim depending on your ammo choice. WZ-111-5A and the Chilean or the QL, you don't have to do that. You just know that however you lead a tank with whatever ammo choice you've got, it's exactly the same. And could I say, the AP rounds and the HE rounds are filthy. Like, so was the heat for damage rolls, because it's got 560. You can roll above 600 a lot. I've even had the magical 7, as you'll see in one of the replays. I've had the magical 700 roll. Okay, that max roll. It's hilarious how hard this gun hits. That HE round as well, if you're hitting soft targets, is amazing. I hit a FV4005 in one of the other replays you're going to see for like 723 or 33, something like that. It hits so hard. It's so good. This tank is just madness. Like, generally, it's mental. It's such a good tank. I mean, don't get me wrong. This this skin for the 5A, I'd say, it doesn't look that good. I'm not a fan of it myself. But again, get past the looks of it and think about whether you'd enjoy the playstyle, or just how it plays, or how it plays, or how it handles. It's just so goddamn good. I don't know what they were thinking, because if you look at this in comparison, so we got 4.65 rounds a minute, 2.5 and 3.9. Let's go to something that has 560, which would be the MX-M4 54 or the Andre the Giant. So 3.55, so it fires 1.1 rounds a minute more. Sure, it's got worse gun handling, but at the same time, the gun handling is terrible on this. It feels terrible on this tank, so it's definitely noticeable. And that shell velocity is worse. So again, the gun handling just feels worse, even though it's only like 0.2 less. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. Then you think about this, even with the best DPM that the Andre the Giant has, look, 0.38, 2.3. Yeah, sure, the aim time's better, but it's only 0.1 off the WZ-QL. It hits for 560. And the pen, it's got the same AP pen, but the premium round is nowhere near the 340 that the 5A gets, or the QL. I don't quite get why it's basically been copy and pasted from the PC stats like that, where it's just so good, but then other tanks have come in that are just so much worse than their other tier 10 tanks. So here's another one, the Panzer 7 with 560. Fires, what, 0.7 rounds a minute less? And it's got a worse aim time, but 0.2 better accuracy. And arguably, the armour's not better on this tank. Like, I don't know. I don't know why they do stuff like that. The other thing that I forgot to mention, or I probably did mention, I just forget if I have, is 7 degrees of gun depression. This tank gets 7 degrees of gun depression, which is fantastic for a 130mm Russian copy tank. It means you can do so much. There's so many areas you can use that are just so much more accessible. Like, if you consider compared to the Andre or the AMX as well, this gets 8 degrees, so it's only 1 degree less. So, like, this is bottom of the food chain, tier 10 heavy. The Chilean, the QL, is so much better. It's definitely, if you're going to invest in a premium tier 10 or the free XP tanks, 450k free XP is a steal for this tank. I mean, I don't really want to be selling, but it just is. If you're going to pick one of the tanks to pick for 450 free XP, this is the one to get. It's absolutely amazing. There's no other way of saying it. I generally really enjoy it. Oh, and it has a special feature too. The gun flare. It's got a flare off the gun when you fire, which luckily doesn't impact your aim. So you don't see it when you're in sniper mode, but if you fire third person you do, which is good because that means that you don't have annoying muzzle flash. So, that's the garage review part. My thoughts are, it's a ridiculous tank. And I run rammer, vert stabs and optics. That's a good point. I run rammer, vert stabs and optics. But this tank could quite easily run vents instead of optics. Okay? Because I run optics just because I love maxing out V-range. So I can never really get outspotted all that much. And I can deal with most tanks who can outspot me. But that's my personal preference. You can push the DPM even better by running vents and everything else generally. So that's completely up to you whether you run the vents. I'd say vents is a very good shout, but optics is also always a good shout. So yeah, it's a ridiculous tank, and I'll see you at the replays. Contain my excitement for this tank, and you're getting a double upload today. So, the 5A QL, or the WZ-111-QL, as I said in the review, it's an unbelievable tank. Now, this first game isn't an ace tanker, I don't think. I think it's a first class. But it kind of shows you what it can do if you have three working as a team. Like, it's just a crazy tank. Like, their team was mainly taking up this ridge line, which is where we're going. We're spread out quite evenly, so I think Nova Rapid's on 6 line, Don's on 2 line, and I'm in the middle. And we're just going to put this gun to work on this ridge line. And that's what the armour's like for you, poking up on ridge lines. I take a couple of hits, bounce a couple. That pesky light tank slams us. 700 roll there on the 50B. 700. That's the max roll. It's how hard this thing can hit for. Like, we put 2 shots into him, 664. Like, I just love how hard it hits. It's amazing. Now, their team is doing probably the perfect thing for us. That was a bad shot. But they're all sitting pretty much in front. There's not much heavy hitting sat at the back, so I can just keep slinging shots. We go for the track on that Valor, but damages Amarak and don't track. But 553, I mean, that's a low roll. It's, honestly, how hard this thing hits for is amazing. And it's very forgiving as well. Like, being on this ridge line, you can use your good turret armour, because it's got 300mm of frontal turret armour. Got 2 cupolas on it. One is the one, if you're facing it, the one on the left is the one you want to shoot, because it's 180. But then, even then, it's not a guaranteed pen. So the turret armour is fantastic. As a hull-down tank, it's amazing. The upper plate is very solid. I wouldn't say it's brilliant. It's not going to bounce everything, especially if you've got tier 10s firing premium rounds. But it's enough that if you keep wiggling when you're running at someone, you're going to bounce them. So this 1390's coming back for another stab. I smash him, damages Amarak, Sam shoots him, and he gets shut down. Good, because that's one pesky light tank down. They've been annoying us by just YOLOing about consistently. And it's good, and it's Prokhorovka, so it's always good to get rid of the light tanks, because whoever has the most good, competent light tanks wins, usually. So we're trying to aim for shots at this E4 and E5. We got one into the E4 earlier, we got one into the E5 then, and we're getting spotting. We're at 1,111 spotting so far, 11111. Nearly as many ones as this tank has in its name, or more even. And we're still trying to aim for shots at these people. This Val is in the perfect place. We slapped the shot in. That's a low roll, 469. But again, we damaged his Amarak. We're damaging Amaraks left, right, and centre in this game. So this FV422 has been a bit of a pain, so we want to get a shot into him. I'm pretty confident that there's not much at the back still that's going to shoot me. So I can pop up even more easily on this ridgeline without really losing any health. We try and shut him down there, snap the shot in, but it doesn't quite work. And this light tank looks like he's coming back again. And at this point, he's been very, very annoying, and we really kind of want to get rid of him. But he's not come back up. We try and snap a shot at the Centurion. Miss. Bad aim. He hits us on the move again, but tracks us only. Like, this guy's luck with firing on the move has been insane. And we're trying to shut him down, but he just doesn't turn like I thought he would. So we miss again. Bad aim, but also he just was being a bit too unpredictable, which is what you want to do in a light tank. He gets shut down, which is good. This 430U, I don't know why, sits still. 608. It's so good how hard this gun hits. It's brilliant. And you also see how slow the velocity is then. It was like, whee! You know, splat. Like, it's so good. So we're at 6.1k damage. We'll try and pop a shot there, standard B. It unfortunately dips low. This is where the accuracy will let it down a little bit, 0.39. You will miss quite a few shots. But really, this tank won't want to be sniping all that much. It's definitely a brawler. It likes to be in people's faces. Ricochet. Did you see that ricochet? That is a lucky standard B. It's a 130mm round with good pen. Like, he's a lucky guy. But so unfortunately we don't get the pen on him. And we're now just chasing down this chieftain. He is so dead. It's not even funny. But shutting down that guy caps off a pretty dominant game for this tank on Prokhorovka. And this game shows what it's good for. That poking up on the ridgeline, it showed what good armour it has in the fact that you can bounce stuff and how good it is putting this gun to use. So as you can see in the post-game results there, we got 16,500 damage between us working that ridgeline in this tank. It's honestly, like, the tank itself is insane. It's so good. And if you have 3 tanks working in a team like that, it's not unbeatable, because obviously nothing's unbeatable, but it's very, very, very difficult to beat. It's so strong. We come out of that with the Confederate steel wall and high caliber. It's just ridiculous. And in the games I played with Sam and Don, we basically, I think we lost like 1, and that was after Sam had left, so there were only 2 of us. I think we lost 1 game in a stretch of about 10 to 15 games. When you've got good players putting this tank to work, and you've got a team of them that are working together, it's so goddamn good. I mean, you can say the same about a lot of tanks, but I think this tank makes it easier because of just how solid it is. So we're into the next game, and we're platooned up with Swindle, and we're on this variant of Thief Ridge. And I'm going to go to the position that I really enjoy using on this map, from either spawn really. I think this position that I'm going to go to at GH4 is one of the most solid positions on the map, because you get good shots across lots of different areas. You can spot out across lots of different areas, and if you've got turret armour, you're pretty safe while using it too. So getting to this position, you've just seen how good the mobility of the 5A or the QL is. It got to the position so easily. And then just as we pop on that ridgeline, we've got the I-7 that we slapped as well. 557. It's so good to hit people that hard. Unfortunately, that one only does track damage. But again, the reload's really good. Like, he's getting slapped, we're spotting him, we're going to pop a shot in blind and track him. Someone else slaps him at the same time, so we get a nice bit of tracking. This tank is just unbelievable. So look at the reload. This is not fully pimped, this is 10.42. I think Novo was saying that he had it as vents and stuff like that, and fully equipped it was 10.21, I think it was. So the reload's sickeningly good. Like, you can just keep putting in the hurt. I can't reiterate it enough. Luckily that one flew into the lower plate and finished him off, but someone else's shell overtook ours while it was in air, so we didn't get the full damage, but we killed the guy, so I mean, minor victories. That T-57 Heavy is determined to stay hidden. he is not wanting anything of what we're selling. So we're going to change up the angle of attack, pretty much, and attack these guys down below. Now that's a FE215B183. We don't want to deal with that. We set him on fire. Unfortunately, I should say, he has a fire extinguisher, so he puts it out. And now we've got another QL. We fire at him, hit the lower plate, and did you see the flames there? I was going to put a clip in of what the flame does, but this guy here firing at us, you can see it. Look at the flames leave his gun there. That's, to be honest, it looks pretty cool in third person, and I'm glad they've done it the way they have, where it doesn't flare up when you're in your sniper mode, because that would be incredibly irritating. But luckily they haven't done that, which is good. So when you're using the gun properly in sniper mode, it doesn't affect you, which is the way it should be. So me and Swindle have decided to push these guys in the back, and I pop a shot into the M103, same as Swindle has, 581, we've smashed him. And now there's this IS-7. He shoots at Swindle, tracks him only, he's back around the corner, I've not quite got the reload, I'm driving into a dead wreck like an idiot, and then I lag behind my shot. I was going to go for this IS-7's outside drive wheel, or inner drive wheel, the one that's closest to me. But then I lagged behind with my shot and hit his outside drive wheel. It was just bad aim. So now we're coming up against the Andre the Giant, which actually has solid frontal armour. It's a lot better than, it feels a lot better anyway than the MX M454, because they buffed it. Like the cheeks and that are so much better. It just seems to hold up a lot. Well, just a lot better. I've got to stop seeing better. But we're trying to put shots at the T57 Heavy. We put 2 shots in, and the gun handling's sort of letting us down a little bit. It is a slim shot. We got one into his turret there, 465. It looked like it ricocheted. I don't get why it does that sometimes. Sometimes it gives you the little like animation that it ricochets, but it didn't. So now we're going to pop a shot into this AMX, this Andre, and the lower plate of the Andre is not the best. So if you're firing the premium rounds, or just 250, 260 pen standard rounds, you will go through the lower plate. But there's a proviso to that. You've got to shoot the lower bit of the lower plate. It's like the Object 268 version 4. Don't shoot the upper bit of the lower plate. Shoot the lower, because the upper bit is way more armoured and is a lot harder to go through. So you've got to aim lower. So we're coming up on this in Mil 2. The shot was snapped in as he was falling back down the ridgeline, and unfortunately we didn't pen him, we only tracked him. And we're going to go in for the kill on this guy. We want more damage out of him. There's only me and this light tank that are going to be near him, so it'll pretty much be all of our damage, this guy. And we are going to use the armour of this tank quite effectively. Like, in the Paul's Medal game you saw earlier today, I didn't side scrape it, I didn't use the armour effectively. Now this is going to be showing you what this tank is good at when it actually uses its armour effectively. So luckily this guy's stock. You can tell by the sound of what's hitting us. Usually if it was the 120mm, it'd sound far more meaty, basically. And that's the 105. That's the Emil 1's gun that he's got there. So he's got lower pen, but he just couldn't pen us, just side scraping him, and we blocked his whole clip. That light tank that rammed him as well made it so it probably easier for him to pen me, because he probably had my lower plate, but he still didn't do it. And I didn't realise I'd run out of AP, so I clicked to load HE and I ended up just resetting back to heat. But there's an FV4005 now that is full health near Swindle. And I've got the HE rounds in because I want the big rolls. It can roll, as you've seen in the garage review, it can roll up to 820 something. That is so powerful. So he's rolling out on Swindle now. We're getting into a position that's better to shoot him. He's popped 1,000 into Swindle. And our round flies true, 736. Oh, oh my goodness me, that is a high roll. That is absolutely beautiful. Like that, hitting people for that much with the HE, the thinly armoured tanks. You imagine coming against Waffles, you're going to have a field day against them. Imagine the stuff you've destroyed as well. Brilliant. So in that game, we'll come out with a high caliber and an ace tanker, 22 shots fired, 20 hits. 14 pens. Like, that's pretty good for this gun at 3.9, and some of the shots we were firing at a bit of a distance, but for the most part, it's the brawling nature of this gun that is what you want to be doing with it. So look, that FE2005 ammo rack unloader, HE, amazing. 736, like, it's just insane. 1,774 base XP, 4 kills as well. 76,000 credits made. I don't know. I don't think it's a good credit. It's a normal tier 10, so making credits is not really what it does, but 76,000 credits is nice. So now, this is the first game I played in this tank after it got credited to me. And this game gave me a showing of what it can do. We're on Panama. Is it Panama? I think it's Panama. That's the reskin version of Westfield. And we're going to go to this ridgeline up here because it's team destruction. And as you've just seen by the light tank spotting them all, everybody spawns on these 2 spawns that we've got. Okay? So going to the other flank is just not wise. I'd say you could try and flank round if you've got to be in something extremely quick. Sometimes, by the time you've made it down the K line and up the 0 line and round that way, the fight's already over. So this ridgeline is a key place to fight. So there we go. We've slapped the batch out. We've now slapped that Bastian. And he's in a position where we can just farm him. And for the most part, I think we can get away with keep popping up without taking any damage ourselves. Because it's going to be fairly awkward for him. And I've seen the E100 down there. And I've loaded the heat. Because I want to slap one through his front of his turret quite easily. But he gives us the side of his turret, so in the end we didn't really need it. The Jagdtiger pops over us and slaps us one. And because we've got heat, even though he's angled like that, we could go straight through the side of his casement. But now I've figured I can't really do that because of that Jagdtiger. If he decides to keep poking up like that, we've given up the control of the ridge. I don't know why. They've all pushed up to like that C2 place. They've all gone to there. And I don't know why, because that means that these guys are now starting to surround them more and put shots into them and hurt them. So I've taken up this position now to try and stop that. So we've shut down the T30. There's this Jagdtiger. We've got this AMX M451. But at first I was thinking, that's a 65T. And then, because he is very stock, that is a stock AMX M451. So he's got the AMX 65T turret. So when I looked at it, I thought, that's a 65T. I didn't really look at the name. So I aimed for the upper plate and then looked at the upper plate and the shaping of it was weird. So it was like, oh wait. And I saw the name obviously and then was like, oh wait, that's the tier 9. So I can't pen the upper plate. But he's got his side to us, which we can easily pen. I don't know if it's only got 40mm of side arm. If it has, we can overmatch it quite easily every time, no matter what his angle is. So this Jagdtiger decides that he wants to come and pop a shot at us. We pen him his lower plate. He bounces off us. Great result. This Conqueror now is trying to work the ridge. So we're going to see if we can pop a shot into him, but he's kind of angled towards us now. We only do track damage because that's how good the side armor is in the Super Conqueror. It's still a dumb tank. And he's kind of ignoring us now, so we're going to see if we can pop a shot into the back of his turret. We do. 625. Woo. I don't think I'll ever get bored of how hard it hits with great regularity. That AMX bounces on us. 425, that is a low roll. I think that's possibly that. I don't know. I think the 420 is the min roll. It's near enough of min roll, so it's not great. But then we slap the Kampfpanzer, and this Super Conqueror is now. Well, they're starting to get their crap pushed in a little bit. T95A6 is now taking bold manoeuvres onto us. We can't quite see the Kampfpanzer. T95A6 pulled back, so he's not going to take a shot. We've got the side of the Super Conqueror's turret, which is actually weaker than the standard Conqueror or the FE215B, so it's still much easier when it's angled like that to go through it. And this guy, again, he's slinging heat, and he's going through us every time. I'm quite surprised he penned and tractors with heat, because heat usually gets absorbed. Well, when I use it anyway, it gets absorbed. I can never really pen and track people. But he's run off to the other side now, so he's not going to bother penning us. Got this Super Conqueror, he's coming all the way up. Is he? No, he's not. We hit the... It looks like we hit the lower plate, but we actually hit the space armor just above the lower plate, which is not a pen. and we're bounced. And there's just this mouse churn. Like, we're trying to work this gun depression, which is, 7 degrees is workable. If I was in a Russian tank right now, I probably wouldn't do it. We shut down that T95E6. We get revenge for impenning us twice earlier. And this game is now in its death throes. It's getting it's getting finished quite quickly now. We aim for the Maustian Scapola, but with 250 pen, I don't actually think we can go through that. I think it's about 260 effective. So unfortunately we didn't get it. We didn't get the kill on him either, and we finished again with 14 pens, 3 kills, and 7,023 damage. And that was my first game in it, and it was after this game that you're sitting there going, oh my lord, what have they done? So that was a high caliber ace tanker, Confederate, sniper medal. And by the way, I expect the ace tanker values, or the base XP for this ace tankers, to shoot through the roof. You're going to be needing like 1900 2k base, probably for this ace, once everyone starts playing it all the time. It's a ridiculous tank, it's really good. And it's definitely the one that you should get. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.